Well, let's see. Remind me.
with the fish. The
Oh, that's coming up in home. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
oh, that's
home. Yeah,
home.
that's
Oh,
home.
I'm sorry.
Oh well.
That's okay, but thanks for keeping me on track. It's good. I need
Yeah.
all the help I can get.
Well, see that leads us right into what we need to talk about then.
All
So
Perfect.
right.
let's jump in the home. Great
Okay.
program. Man, I miss this program. I miss my kids being in this program because it's so much fun.
It is so much fun.
Yeah.
And like I said, and I have to stop and think too, like which is cycles and which is home because I'm going into the summer programs for each of my classes. So my toddlers are moving up to cycles, so they're doing cycle summer. So I had to think about that for a second. And then my cycles children are moving up to, or my music makers home children are moving up to world. So I'm having them do seashore, which is where I used the fish sign.
Right,
And
right.
so, anyway, we're having so much fun because this is a class of two and they're twins. So they're all in the home and the mom is very participatory. We're having a blast. So, what Ellen was referring to was an idea that I got from Mary Louise Wilson. And we are thinking about emergent literacy at this level. We're really helping them with left to right, on the page, high and low. We're crossing the midline. We're doing all these things that help feed into their literacy skills for reading and for music reading. So we have a little sign. So when we do our pelican poem, the answer is always fish. So whenever we get to that part of the poem, I just hold up the sign and they yell out fish, and they are so participatory because of this. It keeps them connected and they look forward to it. They think it's so funny too. Sometimes these twins just crack up and roll back because they are just having so much fun, but they really love the fish moment. So that's what I'm doing with them, and also in Music Makers Home. So we have this fiddler crab quadrille. So if you're talking about movement at this level, again, it's the same kind of idea. We want to give them the tools that they need for moving, and you as the teacher, you're going to listen to the music and listen for things in the music that you think would feel good with this particular movement. In the fiddler crab, there are moments where that I found were very crabby, and so we made our little claws and we got our legs all in crab form, and we were like crabbing back and forth and doing like kind of a tiptoe, and it fits with the music perfectly. So we also found other seashore ways to move, like we did a big sway, which was the water swaying. We were also in a boat where we were just floating around in a nice circle. So there you've got three tools for moving. You've got a big circle, you've got a big old sway, and then you've got this kind of dancey, staccato-y feeling crab. And so that's what we ended up doing. We listened to the music then, the fiddler crab quadrille, and then we got up and did it all together with the music playing. And it was just delightful to look down and see these little kids making their crab moves and kind of going sideways, back and forth, and just cracking up and having a great time.
That's right.
Awesome.
That's the essential part is that they are interacting. They're
Right.
not just muting and just sitting back and waiting for the hour to end. They are in the middle of it, and we are constantly bringing them in, pulling them into the story, asking them again and again, what's another way that the crab moves? Can you show me a different way? I'm not really sure I got what you did. Could you really show it to me on the floor? Am I doing it the way you're doing it? How is mine different? Do you think the crab ever gets swept away by the wave? What would happen if that happened? And what would it look like? And my goodness, off they are. They're just rolling, and they want to make sure that you've seen their particular move. And then once you do it, then I usually then do it, and then I'll ask all the children to try it out and then come with another move. They'll come up with some great moves that I've never even thought of. Some of them I can't do, and if I can't do them, I just say, I can't do that move. But I bet if you watch Jamie, that you could figure out how to do it too. Because there are some things just can't do. But yeah, we keep the movement in the forefront of this program, whether it's in my classroom or it's in their home. Yeah.
Now, one thing with with music makers at home, you're getting into a very much longer lesson period. Do you find yourselves adjusting? Usually it's an hour, somewhere around there. Are you adjusting it to a shorter time period, or are you still trying to stick with kind
Oh,
of an hour kind
I
of
need the full
situation?
hour. The parents are there. I
Yeah.
just made it clear the parents have to be there. So there isn't, quote, parent time. But I'll still do the 15-minute parent time. It's just, though, that's when we do the circle games, or I'll review the notation cards, or I might have an instrument demo, and I'll reserve it just because I might even say to them, hey, you might have some other people in the room to bring in at this point. So I'm still trying to keep that family time at the end.
Yeah.
Amy, do you need the full hour?
Yes, even with my little class of two, that I'm using that full hour. You wouldn't think I would, but they just they do stay engaged the whole time. And I agree that the parent has to be there. She's crucial, and the dad comes in sometimes as well when he's not working. And I agree, we try to still do something very family oriented at the end. So in fact, we were just doing that. How the kids get in the boat and it won't go around at the end. That's for that last verse where it goes slowly and the boat won't go around. That's because mom got on. So she gets in the middle and the kids are on the outside holding hands and they're trying to go around and they're going very slowly. That was the most recent class I had with them with the family time at the end. But right, that having that mom on hand to just help with transitions and things like that, it's been so helpful. Or even to get an idea across where they have little glockenspiels, so I'm trying to get them to try to do the do and the so, and the mom is there to help just kind of make sure that they're at least approximating the concept. So that's been quite helpful. But yeah, I need that full hour, surprisingly.
Yeah, there's plenty of material in the
Yeah.
curriculum.
Definitely.
I can't even imagine doing it for less. When we were doing, for some reason I had a child every week wanted to do Bella Bimba. I don't know what it was. It was the Bella Bimba year. And I think what they loved the most was we had created an idea where first the parent is a statue and the child goes around, and then the child is a statue and the parent goes around. And that's how we adapted it, because in studio, of course, we made a big circle, and it was actually harder to do because there were so many people in the room. And now they would do a smaller circle, or we would do it more like bow to your partner. They might be kicking, they might be doing a smaller circle, they might be going towards each other. We did a lot of adaptations like that to make these songs alive in their homes. And yeah, if we could get other kids or other siblings or parents to come in, that would make it, really get there. Imagine they're actually having a song circle. They're doing it in their home. That is like one of our most important goals, is to extend this into the home. And look what we're doing it. We're putting it right in their home. So
Yeah.
it is a great thing.
And along those lines, using the whole family for something like a duet. We were talking earlier when we were getting ready for this about how we all just came through that duet portion of Music Makers at Home, and they can actually do a duet if they find an instrument that makes one sound, or an item or an object, and maybe the other child or the parent could be the other part of the duet, and they can choose something else. You can use simple graphic notation, and you can still be the conductor and use your stick or whatever you have and take them through a nice graphic notation duet. This is like a truncated version of what I ended up doing, because one child had a glockenspiel, so she was going up and down, zigzagging up and down, and then just dot 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 all around the glockenspiel. And the other child had, I just did this quickly, but a triangle. So he was making short sounds, ding, ding, and then the really long one, ding, going across the page, and they did them both at the same time. So it's something that worked visually. This was, of course, on my other screen where it was looking down. It was very stable looking, but that's another way to do a duet. And you can start bringing in some of your other cards that you use in a Music Maker's level, like the dynamics cards. So I could put a piano there, and they can be quiet. You know, we can do the forte, and that reinforces all of those concepts in a really fun way.
Yeah. Now,
Nice.
of course, the same thing we spoke about in the toddler of having instruments in a basket applies to the cycles and to Music Makers.
Yeah.
And when they get to Music Makers and they have their poster, I must admit, sometimes the most challenging part of in class is, even with the big poster, is managing children so that they're not right on the poster, you know, nose on poster, and I can't see, and, you know, my turn. And what you can do now is that they each have their own poster. So now all I have to do is put my poster up, and they have their poster, and now we can play I Spy, you know, the Cardinal, and poof, they are all doing it. I can see their fingers doing it. I ask them to show me, although sometimes that's hard when they do the, you know, here, you know, but I can see, as long as I see that they're pointing, I don't really, I'm not going to say yes or no, but, and
Right.
what else do you see? And then we play the game of, okay, Jamie, what are you pointing at? I'm pointing at the anthill. Where is that anthill? Oh, it's over here. Well, can the other children find it? And oh, they find it. Now, what we did one time was we were telling the story. I can't remember which story it was, but I actually used the little animals, and I moved them around as I was telling the story. I had just had the poster down, and the animal would move around, and he talked, and the other animal was talking to another animal, and then I think it was the squirrel one, and I had this, you know, I had something going up and checking out different parts, and they were all doing it too, you know, they were playing, because I remember watching my daughter doing this with the stuff. She spent hours talking to those little animals as they were, and I thought, why don't I tell a story just like that?
Yeah.
So yeah, they
Yeah.
were
Yeah.
telling the story. They all had the equipment.
Yeah.
Wow, that was really nice, you know, and if they didn't have it, well, where is your equipment? I don't know. Well, the next week, guess what? Their equipment was there because the parent was there going, oh, you mean that stuff is important?
You know what? I just realized a silver lining to what you were just doing. It gets them, you know, when they animate little things, their voices go up and they go really high. It's their singing voice. I mean,
Exactly.
have you ever tried to, you know, teach somebody who hadn't found their singing voice and they're like 6, 7, 8, 9 years old, and they only know their speaking voice? What do? Yeah, we're gonna. Oh yeah, with this one, and always puts them right up in there. So that is a silver lining right there. I love it.
Yeah, it reminded me of watching my when my girls were in this class. They would do that all day long with put the poster out, be playing with the critters. You know, yeah, it's great. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I still do it with my 20 and 30-year-olds. Hi, are you coming over? Yes, I think I am. Oh, what are you bringing? I'm going to bring salmon. Oh, but I really want asparagus. Yeah, they'll go, Mom, stop that. Stop
Well,
it.
I've done that in my adult piano classes when they haven't found their singing voices. I'm like, you know, do you remember what it felt like when you pretended with the Hot Wheels? What did it sound like? And then the siren, yeah. So it never ends.
No, it never ends.
Oh man, we miss so much by not being children anymore, don't we? I tell you.
So true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Well, let's we got 2 more levels to do, so let's jump into World, another super fun level. Super fun level.
that's
So you
coming
wanna-
up in September for me, so I'm listening with all ears, you know.
Oh,
Well, we've just gotten started. As I said, my Music Makers home classes are going into World, so I'm just getting my feet wet. But I'd say that a lot of the same ideas that we just talked about from home will come into play with World. It's just going to be building on things like ensembles and those stories and the dances. And I think that we can take everything that we've done up to this point and apply it to Music Makers around the world. I will say that it's kind of a fun age because as they get older, you can have different ways of, say, for calling on them. If you're working, say, with the manipulative cards and you've got, something in front of them and you're playing a game, you can call on them different ways. One time, since we sang the song, I See a Boy Who's, has a shark on his shirt, that week, because there are just two of them, it's really easy for me to do. I drew, actually, that he had a football on his shirt, and I drew a football on a piece of paper. And she had on a rainbow. So they watched me draw a rainbow on my paper. We did it it just reminded me of some activities that I watched. I remember Linda Robinson and Lorna Heiga doing a drawing activity where the children are just like mesmerized. I don't know why, I could never explain it, but just that drawing. So I drew a rainbow. They were very interested in that I follow the Roy G. Biv, outline. And so I did that. And that way, I would sing a pattern. Let's say it was one of those where I would do it on a neutral syllable, and then they have to think about what the language is and then layer on the language. So I would sing it, and then I would hold up one of the signs, and so they knew who was singing it back. That was just a fun way, a different way to just mix it up a little bit, so that when you're calling on them, that you're not just calling their name all the time. They knew to look in the screen, like they had to listen to my pattern. They had to look at the screen and see whose picture was going to pop up. Was it the football or was it the rainbow? And then they would respond. So that was just a fun way. I think as they get older, we can find some fun ways to do that. I think also having these little things that I made a long time ago when we first started doing this for my piano students, this sure comes in handy. Well, I pulled out the only one that's kind of a wah wah. Good try. The rest of them are really super positive, like, well done. And for some reason, these kids who are 6 and 7, they really love seeing what little creature is telling them, that they did a great job just then. So they come back to the screen for that. So I think those kinds of things. Also, when you're getting up into the next level, which, because I just have this in front of me, but you can play games with right hand and left hand. Just one time on the spot, I took these and I thought, you know what this kid needs? He needs work on where's my right hand, where's my left hand. So you can play visual games like that. As these students get older, it just can get more complex. You can actually do screen share with your whiteboard, and you can do work on that whiteboard together and let them do some writing, and you can do writing. So there's a lot more involved, online specific work that we can do that I think would be beneficial and easy to break up in a class. So you get the movement, you get the drumming, and then a little visual work, a little writing. It's just the way the class is designed.
On the whiteboard, the Zoom whiteboard, they can add to it?
They can. You have to set it up that way so that anybody, and there are stamps, there are all kinds of things that they can do on that whiteboard. And you can do it in real time. You can save that whiteboard. So there are a lot of opportunities there with the whiteboard to explore.
That's great. Think of graphic notation, for instance.
Yeah.
They have to, how do you draw that sound? Can you make a whiteboard with a staff?
Well, you could share a screen. So there is, what is the music theory I don't have to look it up, but there's a theory one where you can download and you could do a share screen and use a staff with that one. You could write your own staff on the whiteboard.
I was going to say, and then they can add to it. So
they can add to it. We'd have to play around with that to just see how difficult that would be, if that would be too time consuming or intricate, but you could certainly do that. And I don't know. We'd have to work with that, but I think that it's definitely worth looking into.
Okay.
Well, and real quick, you mentioned drumming, and a lot of questions we get from teachers about doing online is, singing online, drumming, doing ensembles, because they all have their own little difficulties as far as delay of sound and all that stuff. Real quick, how would you handle like a drumming activity online?
It depends on the size of your class. If your class is big, I would just say that they should be muted and then they're following you. So you're modeling everything, how you want them to play, right hand, left hand, whatever, the big circles. And and just let them follow you and the music is playing, you're playing your music. It does work through Zoom, and I use a speaker so that my music is nice and full. I always double check with my parents to make sure that they can hear everything okay, so they always give me the thumbs up, which helps me know that yes, this is working. I had a one-on-one yesterday with a piano partner student who's doing piano partners as no, she's her own partner, and well, maybe the nanny is a partner. And we were doing drumming, and I just left it open, and I did not mute her, and she just followed me, and it seemed to work. We were really almost completely in sync with each other, which is just amazing when you get these Zoom settings right. So I don't know, how do you do it, Ellen? There's so many different options, but
Well, always the first option is we model, they mute.
right.
The second option is we echo. The echoing works. So for instance, if I'm doing do, day, do, I always have to remember that there's a little beat before they respond.
Right.
You know, in the classroom, it's do, day, do, day, do, and online it's going to be do, day, do, day, do, and I really have to just adapt my head and just wait, Ellen, just wait. And when they're done, I also have to give myself a beat. Do, day. Otherwise I'm almost stepping on their toes. So there's more space between the echoes when we're practicing these things.
It's interesting. I've been doing the opposite. So I wonder, how it's coming out, because what I'm trying to do is just go ahead and keep my steady beat the same, no matter what they're giving back to me, so that when they get to their last beat, I'm already giving them the next one. Because I was noticing that they were doing this thing where they're doing the tapping, and then they would like wait for me. And I was like, ooh, like the last thing I want them to do is to stop tapping.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting, and I don't know exactly how that's playing out. So yeah.
It
I mean,
depends
I
on
would
the
say
delay that day, you know. Sometimes the
Yeah.
delay is really bad and I need to
So
do
true.
that. And yet there are some days where they're almost right on. I'll go
Yeah.
do, day, do, and they've got do, day, do, and I realize, oh, we're on. And
Yeah.
I'm staying right in. But if I hear a delay, or if I was trying to go do, day, do, and I'd hear those, and then I'd go do, day, do
Right.
off of theirs, and
Yeah.
I don't know what they're hearing.
Well, in that case, I wonder too if it might be best. So if you sense that the delay is there and it's significant, sort of back to what you were saying at the beginning, think of these as isolated patterns,
Yes.
and sort of letting go of that idea of we're going to keep this big beat going, and just give them a little space on either end. Here's this pattern. Yeah, and it's probably easier, as we say, with these older students to do that. And you could even hold up, if you're doing it with a card, then it's
yeah,
just that
definitely.
one pattern. Yeah.
You can.
So that would simplify.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've lost track. We're talking about.
Well, we're going to say also about the music makers levels, just making sure that the parents are there to help with materials, and perhaps even just if they can't be in the room the whole time, make sure that they have the materials lined up for us. They have their binder, they have their instruments, like you mentioned, that they have paper and they have crayons.
Yes.
And if they have those four things lined up, we should probably be able to do it with the children pretty well, and move things along. But we do need the parents' help for that kind of organization.
Yeah, good point.
Ensemble will work if the children are singing. So an example is if we're doing listen for bells in the steeple to ring, and many times I'll have them with a bell, and I don't know why, but I always have them to ring, and they'll catch that one, so they have to wait, listen for bells in the steeple to ring, and I let them ring as long as they can, and then ding, 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 ding. Now, of course, they need to have triangles or something that they can make that sound. I find if they're all singing together that we do get an ensemble, and they are putting in sounds at appropriate times. So it's not the same kind of ensemble where you have an ostinato
Hmm.
That would be really hard because of the delay, unless the only other way I could think of it is that you give them that kind of thing and then you would mute them and you're going to do this, maybe a DA accompaniment with AG. So, and you're singing and they're holding whatever it is and they're going to hit the ding. So they're getting the experience of waiting. The parent is helping with the ensemble. If you do have a parent and they do have the equipment, I guess they could do an ostinato, maybe on a piano, if they have a keyboard.
Yeah, it brings up to the importance of making sure that you are hearing them sing and that they are singing, because it's so easy, I think, for us as teachers to sort of get in that mode where you're providing everything for the students,
Yeah.
including the singing. I did find that if I'm doing I do have my resonator bars D and A, and then I'll say, okay, this time I'll play, but you guys sing the song. And that's worked pretty well because it does at least bring them out and make sure that they are singing that song.
That's a great idea. And even if they're off in your head,
Right.
you know it's just the delay, but you
Right.
can
And it's
keep
on for them.
going in your head, even though they're a little behind. Just don't try to catch up.
Right.
Yeah.
Hit that steady beat, teacher.
Yeah. So it's ensemble. I'd say would be the trickiest thing online, and so far no one that I know has found a solution to this, and I don't see a ready solution unless, no, I don't see a solution. So we're going to just have to be creative on this one in other ways,
Yeah.
I mean, you could always put together a little project at the end of the year and use an a cappella app and go ahead and have everybody do their part. You're going to do your own ostinato pattern. You're doing this drumming thing. You're singing, you're chanting. And you would have to put it together as the teacher. You'd pull it together on the a cappella app and then present it back to them so that they can see, a project come to fruition like that. So something to think about maybe for the end of the summer, or maybe as we move into the fall, something when we get closer to the holidays.
it's a possibility. Sounds like a lot of work.
Well, and it is, and I only offer that because we've been doing that for our church services. We've been doing that a lot.
Yeah,
And
we are going to get better at all this stuff.
yes,
So,
Oh, yeah.
I'm open to a great solution coming along here.
yeah.
Yeah. Are
Well,
Are we still in worlds, or shall we jump into? Do we have time for piano, or
I think we go ahead and jump into the piano and take care of it. And
take
yeah.
care of it?
let's talk
All right.
it. Let's talk it.
So everything works. There hasn't yet been anything in the curriculum that I have been unable to do online. Period. It all works. So with that in mind, sometimes it even works a little better. Especially with piano partners, I find that it's a little easier. When you have 5, it can get pretty noisy, but there's that great mute button, so nothing to worry about. I wanted us to talk about the 5-step song process, because that is tricky. It's so tempting for us to just show them. So how do we keep it oral? And so I'll take Listen for Bells, and of course we have moved to it, we've sung to it, we've done all the patterns. I do find that I'm able to do more of the patterns, I don't know why, just because I can. On the floor, sometimes they're rolling around, you're distracted, but when they're online, they're just right there. So it's do, 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 so, 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 and off they go, and we're going back and forth. And then it's right into do, 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 so, 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 and we're doing this on the floor, right? And then when I bring it to the piano, I do show them. But I've done a lot of this, do, 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 so, so, so. Sometimes I'll even, I'll take a silent keyboard to make sure that they know. It's really hard to do the guess game, although I've done it, where I'll do something like this, and I'm just going to change cameras. Hold on a moment. Just get to that. All right, so I'm showing them my keyboard, And instead of, we've been, we find all the D's on the piano, and of course I'm showing them D's, I'm hearing the D's, I can check their D's, and we're finding that D, and then I'll sing do, 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 so, and I wait. And then, sorry, it's a little off, do, 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 so. And I'll say, which keyboard? So I'm still trying to find a way for them to look for that sound. And I might even do the do, 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 so. Did that match? No. Do, 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 so. Did that match? No. Do, 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 so. Did that match? So I'm using a lot more of a matching for the, if they haven't found the sound. Now, of course, if they've already found the sound and they can show it to me, then I let them show it. And then for the child who's just, or the parent who's trying to get the visual, and there it is. And then a lot of times I'll say, okay, let's play our echo game. Do, 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 so, your turn, go. Do, 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 so, your turn, go. Do, 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 so, your turn, go. And what I'm doing is I'm beginning to set up a little bit of a practice that these are patterns that we're practicing. And I'll also put on the CD, after a few times. We'll actually follow the CD along together. In fact, I'm almost doing that at every class. I'm using that CD, and I'm working with it. So I'm trying to get it as oral as I can. I'm trying to bring them to the piano in a gradual way. And I'm listening for them to sing, and then I'll do quick, I'll do what's called bird. I say it's bird feeder time. I want to hear each one do it real quick, and everyone's off, and it's boom, 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 and then we move on, and we might just do 2 patterns, and then we stand up and we do, listen for bells. We got to move again. I'll come back and do another pattern. And many times I'll say, now let's sing, listen for bells, and how many of those does are you doing? So it works, guys. It works. Everything we've done in the classroom works there. And so I just wanted to reassure you that the ear is being developed.
Yeah. Very nice.
Yeah. Working with the notation cards. Oh, works. You just got to find a way to get them in front of them. So the way Amy did it with her cards is great. I find sometimes there's too many cards and you can't get them all on. And so, I've tried taping them onto a music stand. Right now I've got this set up. Oh, I keep doing that. Hold on. I'll tell you in a minute what I keep doing. It's so annoying. Right now I've got a little thing where I can put them in a holder, so that way I can take them away or take them out. I have another camera just set for that. They always have their cards, so that works well. Oops.
Yeah, I think it depends on what the activity is. Because I have adjusted my camera, the one that's going down on my cards, it's on a stand, a music stand. So sometimes I just raise it up, and then I make sure that I've got a nice blanket under there so that I've got a lot of space on the floor. And that way we can do, we do whole trains of, rhythms. We put together all kinds of interesting combinations of cards. So yeah, it just depends on the activity at hand.
Exactly. And you got to be creative in getting these things. I'm going to tell you what keeps happening. I'll tell you later. When you can set up a board so that a whiteboard, so you can, with a staff, and you can when we're doing when we're looking for the mystery songs.
Yeah.
I have it on I could do it on iPad, but I like being able to use my finger.
Oh yeah.
So, me, do, so, and you can't do that on an iPad.
Hmm.
I got to a point where I would be almost, I'd be pointing at my iPad screen. And then I'd realize, wait a minute, they can't see I'm pointing at the iPad screen. And so, and I realized that I can't get my finger into the, so this works really beautifully. Now,
Yes.
if you look here, what I did was I made a copy of this, sorry, because I might want to circle the DDoS,
Right.
but I don't want to circle my book. But I
Yes.
want them
Hmm.
to notice that it's in my book. So I just keep putting another copy on top. I keep adding. And that way I'm not changing. And plus, I think this is, yeah, I can use different colors and then they can do their book. So this is a really easy way for them to stay with me as we're doing those things. You can do it also for dictation. Dictation, I'll just have a whiteboard and I'll just draw it in. Again, keeping it technologically simple, as tempting as it is to share a screen and try to use that whiteboard, sometimes it's just easier for them to see that you are circling it and you're pointing and you're.
And the whiteboards, this one is like a square whiteboard I decided to go with because it's light and it doesn't have an edge, so it's not going to collect a lot of debris. I can put it on a music stand, I can hold it. I can also use it as I did earlier in this podcast where it's just a backdrop for my manipulatives. So those are really affordable. I think it was like $10.
Oh yeah, and you can find a lot of them online. So really, there is one thing that I do that is a little different. I find that the children need support during the week, a little bit more support. I don't know why, but online I do wonder how much they're actually getting, and some children even more so. I have one student where I know he's getting about 10% of what we're doing in the room. It's just not a great medium for this child. Having the mom next to him to remind him to put his thumb on D. He just needs to be reminded where D is every single time. There's just the children like that. And so I can't do that. Amy, you mentioned that you were working with a 4 or 5-year-old and like you couldn't touch them. You couldn't
Yes.
get their hand into the hand position, but
Right.
having the parent next to them. So I've been using an app called Marco Polo. It's a great one because I can make quick tutorials for those children, 2-minute tutorials, and showing them the hand position. Then they can come right back with their own little recording of, look, I found that hand position, and I do it like halfway through the middle of the week. And that way it's sort of stay on top, and the parents are thrilled that you are still there during the week and you haven't abandoned them for 6
Right.
days.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good way to do it. Well, anything else to add to keyboard? Because it sounds like with group piano. I mean, I remember my oldest daughter's still doing group piano. So a lot of things that they would do on the floor, as far as looking at that mystery song, you're very simply just here it is on the screen. You're going through the same process. You're keeping it very basic and very simple. You're not trying to get, like you said, too technical in what you're doing, because you don't have to convey what you need to convey. Yeah. So
Exactly.
yeah.
And again, if you have a parent nearby, and inevitably in the keyboard classes, you just have to. There's just too much technology going on, that then the parent can also be the one that will keep them on task
Hmm.
for that one child who everyone else seems to be doing the dictation, and there's that one child who still hasn't put the pencil to the page. It never even, the connection didn't happen. Oh, I'm supposed to do this? And it's the parent, yeah, you need to get started. And in a classroom, you can go around and say, Evangeline, now it's time to start to actually write what we're doing.
The adults are just like that.
Oh, well.
in your adult piano, which is another thing that I think would work really well online, and I haven't done it yet, but I
haven't
want
done it
to.
yet.
But there's always that adult who says, "Oh, you want me to play it on D?" You know, the thing that you've been saying for like 8 weeks in a row. Never changes.
Oh no. That's I think that's the most important thing is that the actual person, the children we're working with, they haven't changed.
Yeah. No.
No,
They're
Right.
no.
still there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, the other day, one child said to me, Ellen, I have something very important to ask you. And I knew it was coming. When are we coming back into the classroom? And there was that expectant look like it was going to be very, like I had the answer.
Mhm.
And I didn't know what to say except I hope it will be soon. I miss you dearly. Really,
There you
what
go.
they're saying is they miss they love to come in. They love to play
Yeah.
with my keyboards. They love to see what new thing I'm going to pull off of my shelves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know.
Yeah. If we could answer that question, we'd all be rich, you know.
Right?
But yeah, I mean, I'm sure we'll probably do an episode once we kind of know what more statewide what's going on, especially when we get closer to the fall, what school systems are going to be doing. You know, we'll be able to advise a little better. Not give anybody any definite, but give you some good advice on here's some ways that maybe you could come back into the classroom. I know right now, teachers are since it's summertime, they're doing classes out. They're doing some classes outside, which I think is great. You know, they feel like it's a good, safe place to do it, and their parents are good with it. Then hey, give it a shot. I have a friend who's doing. Well, we know several music garden teachers who are doing this, but I also know dance studios that you know they've been closed down through all this. They're using the park. They've gotten permission from the park services and from the government to be able to go in and do a dance class in the park. You know,
Right.
so yeah, as long as they stay off that equipment, you know, that playground equipment, you know, then they can use the open areas to do a dance class as long as they're not over a certain amount of people. So the music garden teachers can take advantage of that too. You know, it's a great medium. So I think we covered every level. Obviously, we didn't cover every activity in the music garden curriculum, but I think it really comes down to what we've been talking about: good parent involvement, and really loving our parents to let them know that we love the fact you're there. We need you to participate. Um, Follow the lesson. That lesson card, you don't need to really veer from it. It gives you a lot of the things you need. I think, Amy, you've harped on that quite a bit. I don't mean harped in a bad way. I mean, you feel very serious about that, and I agree with you. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Harp.
And think creatively. Think creatively. And you have a community that can help you. You know, the teacher the teacher Facebook page is a community that you can obviously our teachers, music art teachers, can jump into and find and talk through creative ways of doing this. Unfortunately, I don't think this is going away anytime soon. You know, but we do hope to get in person as much as possible, as soon as possible. So.
And maybe at the end of all this, when we are back in our classrooms, we will have a whole new perspective of this curriculum that we never had before. And I say this reluctantly because I was very happy in January. I felt I was on the top of my game. And I think I was just being a little too happy. And now I've been challenged to do what I think I knew what to do. And I've got to now rethink it all.
Yeah.
And yet it
Yeah.
wasn't that much of a rethink, and that was good. Yet, when we come back to this classroom, yeah, I think we're going to have a whole new way of thinking. So,
Yes. It's stretched us. It's stretched us in good ways
yeah.
Yeah.
and keeps stretching us.
All right. Well, I'm gonna close this out here. I really appreciate you both of you taking the time to talk through this, to give our teachers some ideas, and to all the music garden teachers, even people who don't teach music garden, run across this podcast. we want to support you in any way we can. And ultimately, it comes down to loving the children that the parents are blessing us to bring into our studios, and we appreciate that. So until the next time, talk to you soon.